Okay, welcome everybody this morning. Thanks to all who are on this Zoom for being a part of Building Trades Week 2021 and for attending this, our first session of Building Trades Week 2021. All attendees are muted, but we still want to hear from you. So please use the Q&A function to ask any questions or share comments. You can also use the chat. I believe that is, it's also live. So you can use that. The session is scheduled for 30 minutes and we'll be sharing the questions with our speaker. So we want to thank our sponsor for Building Trades Week 2021, our sponsors, MACAF, which is the Michiana Area Construction Industry Advancement Fund, which is why they go by MACAF, and Big C Lumber and NECA, which is the National Electrical Contractors Association Northern Indiana Chapter. Please visit the Building Trades Week landing page to learn more about our sponsors and all of the employers who are sharing their story out there, which we hope you've already visited or will go out there soon, but please do take a look at that. We are excited to welcome Chris Springer today. Chris is a journeyman carpenter who recently began his own business as an industry consultant. Chris brings more than 20 years experience and expertise in the trades to help businesses realize their construction goals, which is very lofty and fabulous, and I can't wait to hear all about it. So thanks for being here, Chris. And we're just going to jump right in with some questions. A reminder to everybody who's listening, if you do have questions, jump in there with those. But we're going to start real basic with, how did you choose your career, Chris Springer?
Oh, wow. Well, first off, thank you. And secondly, we'll add on that. It's about 26 years now I've been in the industry. So time flies and we're having fun, definitely. But, you know, I started my career and we touched base on a little bit. I wasn't sure how many people may have been on our Zoom when we were talking briefly about it, but I was a graduate in 1994 from St. Joseph High School over in South Bend. That time the school was over a different location, but I was very interested in the trades program, and I had an opportunity to join the Building Trades program, which was sistered with South Bend Community Schools. And I helped build a home there was two classes. There was one in the morning and one in the afternoon. I was on the morning class. There was roughly probably 12 to 15 students in that, and helped build that home. And it was something I loved using my hands, and I kind of just saw, hey, you know what, I'm kind of good at this. And that's really kind of sparked my whole kind of idea of possibly getting into the trades. My family, my grandfather was he owned his own company, and he was a plumber and pipe fitter, and he did a lot of work around the South Bend area. So I'd always knew kind of the hands-on aspect of the building trades and what it really brought to the table, from seeing my grandfather, my grandmother, and of course my mother and her siblings that were raised up amongst that. And he was a very hard-working individual, and he definitely did it right. And so that was always in the back of my head. And so from getting into the building trades, I kind of saw some interest there, and then went out and tried college for a little bit, and it wasn't for me. And I came back around, and I had a friend who was working for a local contractor at the time, and I just got back from college in the summertime. And this has been my 1 year that I spent there. And he says, hey, want a summer job? And so I went out, I contacted the contractor, and all of a sudden it sunk in. And my dad was telling me, he's like, hey, Chris, you know, I want you to do something. I think that's a great thing for you to do. But you already got a little bit of education behind you. And so I kept going on with college, but I did them more at night classes. So instead of getting your four-year degree, I think it took me about 12 years to get to the degrees I have now. But it was definitely worthwhile. But that's how I kind of got my feet wet into the construction industry. So it really goes back to the South Bend Community Schools and their building trades program. And I had a fabulous teacher, and it was Dr. Ed, or was it Mr. J. And I know he was there for some time, and don't know where he is nowadays, but I'm sure wherever he's at, he's hopefully he's doing well.
Excellent. That's great.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that, did you say your grandfather was a plumber and pipe fitter?
Yes, he was. Yep, he owned his own company, and he started from scratch and established his company and built it up. And at one time, I think he may have had a good 10 or 12 employees working for him right there, but he did a really good job for himself. So I was definitely looked at that, and it was something that really would set good with me. So that's kind of how I got very interested in that. And then the building trades class, and kind of took off from there.
So did you know anybody growing up who was focused on carpentry?
I did not. I was everybody else in my family was touched on the plumbing side, and I kind of went the reverse side, but that's okay. Loved it. And that's really where I came from. I cut my teeth on that. And as I said a little bit, I went to work for a local contractor in Mishawaka, Gibson and Lewis, and started there, and worked for them in the summertime. And then I really thought it was just going to be summer help. And I mean, I was young, 19 years old at the time, and doing like most of us teenagers do, and having fun, enjoyed making, using my hands and making a little money, and having a little play money. And so after doing that in the summertime, I was approached by a individual over at the company and says, "Hey, have you ever thought about possibly getting into the carpenter trade?" And he educated me a little bit on the apprenticeship program through the Carpenters. And I looked into that, and that's really how I got started. So I was very fortunate. I went through the apprenticeship program with the Carpenters, and definitely something that I never take back. It was education and that stuff, and learning how to do things the right way and doing it the safe way, and always trying to learn. Nobody can ever take that away from you. So it's definitely a blessing. And so the apprenticeship programs that are out there, that any of our individuals, any of our next generations of carpenters, plumbers and pipe fitters, electricians, or whatever you decide to go into, look at those programs. They're there for you. And it's an amazing thing to be able to go through those, and to look back, not only learn the knowledge of it, but look back after, if it's a 4-year or 5-year program, and really see that, hey, it's something I got through. And all those programs, to my knowledge, you don't have to pay for, and it's something you're always going to have. So that's how I got it.
I know the apprenticeship programs do pay for the book learning that goes with the apprenticeship program. Are there additional classes that you took that were beyond, that you kind of paid for out of your own pocket, that were continuing college kind of courses? Are there different things you took?
My particular program that I went through with the Carpenters, this was at that time, it was they called it Northeast District Councils when I went through, and it was part of an apprenticeship program. The school building was down in Warsaw, which serviced Northeast Indiana, and that would have been South Bend, Fort Wayne, down to Kokomo. And so all the individuals that were around would go to this particular school. Everything was included in that. So at the time, there wasn't even $100 that we had to pay for book fees. And so I know they've changed some of the structure now, and just like everything else costs, everything always goes up. But no, there was no associated cost with it. I also ended up getting an associate's degree through that program through Ivy Tech, which is very nice added bonus. And so it was a great program. I was very happy, and still very, very proud of that.
Well, I do think like the beauty of the associate's degree is that's portable. So if you get that, no matter where you are working or whether you're union or not, you take that with you as something that's on your resume. So it's something that every employer understands. That's kind of the upside to that, I suppose, is the traditional education. So that's awesome. So there was a question on your little list of what is a typical day like. So I'm curious if you can think back, like when you first started, like your first summer job with Gibson Lewis. So what was a typical day like then? And how did that evolve over the years as you gained skills? And maybe give the example of the typical day when that first summer, and then what a typical day became after you had more training.
Okay, we'll do a real quick lifespan about that 26 years. So I tell you what, scared, number one. The very first day on your job, I didn't know what I was getting into. You hear about the stuff, you drive around, you're 18 years old, you see the tradespeople on the side of the roads, and they're building the buildings, wearing their hard hats, their safety glasses, and everything that's going on with that. And so of course I was intimidated just walking on the job site at first, but it's just like anything else. You got to get behind the wheel, and you got to drive, and you got to be able to do it. And so I walked out there for the very first time, and lo and behold, everybody really opened their arms to me. And it was just a really good feeling. Like I said, it was Gibson back then was and they still are a great company. I know they're still out and around, but I had some really good mentors that were there the very first day. And just like any job, you start off on low on the totem pole, and well, wherever I'm on my screen here, so let's put it down here. I think I'm down it this way. And then, you slowly move up, the ranks and stuff like that. But, my typical day, I got there, we were working from, let's see, it was 7 o'clock till 3:30 at the time. It's funny that I know they're redoing it right now. So if anybody drives down to downtown Mishawaka, at the new county city building, at that time, we were remodeling it for Liberty Mutual. And so I started there at 7. And I'd go there, of course, just like any starting job, here's your broom, here's your, sledgehammer, go beat something up on the wall and stuff like that. And so did that. And, and then every day, every week, these guys would really take you underneath their wings, and they would show you a little bit. And that's kind of how I got started. So after getting into the apprenticeship program, that's a lot of times that's how it is. And anybody that's getting into those programs, they have to understand that you have to start somewhere. And that's the biggest thing. Nobody expects you to know everything, especially when you're just starting in the trades. And it's absolutely a great program to get into. And you start off at a low level, and you got to be able to know everything from just simple, simple tape measure, what a tape measure is, how to read a tape measure. Even though I had a little bit of background going through the construction trades through the schools, a lot of people don't, and it's about being out there and being safe and making sure that you're doing everything you can to make it home every single day with, I still got 10 of these, and that's a great thing. And but every year you learn more and more, and you'll meet some people that really kind of understand that they got to groom you, because they're not going to be in the trades the rest of their life, and the industry has to keep going. That's the special thing about getting into the trades, is it's a job that will be there. And if you have the skills and you have the want and the need and really the desire to be there, you can be in this trade, in this industry for a long, long time. So I really look back at some of my mentors and some of the people that surrounded me back then. And I know probably 95% of them, because I know how old I am now, but have all retired and are out of the trades now. But I would never take anything away from those individuals, because I wouldn't know what I know today without them and without my proper training through the apprenticeship program. So it's a great thing.
That's awesome. And I would think carpentry, even more than maybe other trades, is one that can evolve with you as you move through your career, because you could build houses, but then you can also build cabinetry, and you can, depending on if you're a fine detail carpenter or custom millwork, all that kind of stuff. So you've evolved your career. So talk a little bit about how you moved from that first job to the next job to where you are now.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, like as I said, and I started off, going through the apprenticeship program. I did do a stint with that local contractor, and moved through the ranks with them. Had an opportunity to run some jobs with that company. That would be classified as a foreman. And then there was another company that kind of came in town. It was kind of fresh, and started with them. Did the same thing, ran some work. You said something though that I thought was you really hit the nail on the head, using a carpenter term. But the one thing about the carpentry industry, it's so widespread. Carpenters, they'll frame walls from commercial buildings to residential buildings, and they learn how to do everything from carpet to standing up studs, doing drywall, to do trim. So it really is a special trade to get into. And going through my years as wearing my tools back then, I was very fortunate to do everything from concrete to framing to drywall to acoustical ceilings. I worked in industries from industrial, would be like in a factory setting, all the way from like a school setting. I had an opportunity to work in some residential stuff, on some highway stuff. So I touched a lot of things there that really made me the kind of the carpenter I am today. And after going through the apprenticeship and going through some contractors and having the opportunity to run some projects, I think I got some Adams people out there somewhere. I can't see anybody out there, But the last time they renovated it, I want to say it was probably finished up in like 2004. That was my last job as a carpenter. As a carpenter, really, then I switched gears a little bit and I had an opportunity to get into some administrative stuff with the carpenters. And I did that for some years. And then after that, really kind of homed in on some of the things that I had some more desires on, and kind of gets me to where we are today. And after that stint with the carpenters, I had a couple opportunities from some people that I've met over my 16 years of being on the administrative side. And I got to really meet a lot of owners and a lot of contractors, a lot of vendors, and that opened up a great door for me. And I had some really close friends around the greater South Bend area that were in development and some real estate stuff. And they came up to me and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing some type of like consulting work? You know a lot of people." And so with that, I said, "Nah, not really." Didn't know really where I was going the next direction. And but it was a desire of mine to kind of get this thing up and running. So I met with some people and started opening some doors up. And I could not believe what I was starting to see and starting to hear from all these different people and clientele that I knew for years and years and years. It was, it was a lot of owners that just didn't know how to really, I want to build a building, Chris, or I want to build a house, right? I got this issue or this problem, but they're almost intimidated to call up a contractor or even know the next steps to do. And so I was really there to kind of help that void and really kind of move them along. Getting them set up with the right contractors, getting them set up, doing anything from, hey, this is what you kind of what you need to do to make that project happen. And it's really taken off very, very fast. I still do quite a bit of residential stuff because I really am groomed by that. So I got myself, and I still and trying to get into the some of the developments that are here, working with a couple suppliers. And I got a lot of houses set up to be able to do a lot of this residential stuff. So very excited about that, and just trying to get all of that in piece. But the whole thing about the consulting stuff is I'm working with people here locally, and just last week was doing a Zoom call like we're on today, and it was from a gentleman that was over in Kansas City. And so it's just it's been a very it's open doors, and it's just it really just kind of, you look around and you see, man, where did all this come from? But it really goes back to having those core values of where I learned from, where I cut my teeth from, right there in Mishawaka, and starting there and having the desire and the attitude to be able to get there. Because the biggest thing that I see when I talk to anybody and any of the individuals out there, it's really kind of making sure that if it's something you want to do, you got to put your best foot forward. And employers need people that are going to show up on time. They understand that you're not going to know everything, but they want you to have the desire to want to learn. And if anybody, has that opportunity or wants to get into the trades, that's the only thing that the contractors are looking for. They're looking for people who want to learn, want to do it, show up on time, leave your stuff, your home life at home, and just go there and work and do a good job for the contractor. They'll keep you employed if they can.
And it sounds like the building of relationships is obviously because when you show up and you do your job and you are a kind of a lifelong learner, yes, they know they can trust you, which has brought you to your next opportunity. So that shows the importance of really building those solid relationships from the very beginning of your career, no matter what that career might be. And along those lines, I saw a question like about salary for entry-level positions. So like if somebody was coming in, let's say it was somebody who was you, it was the summer after your freshman year in college, and you decided you want to go into first, like you're going to start just general working for a contractor or doing whatever on site.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What would that look like now? Do you know like what that salary would look like? And then if you went into the carpentry, the apprenticeship program, what that looks like?
Yeah, I kind of do because I'm touching on a lot of different aspects of it right now in the world. In the trades, from the commercial end to the residential end and everything that goes around with it, regardless if you're affiliated with the carpenters, the electricians or in the unions or non-unions. So I do get to talk to a lot of different people now. It's really, and I also talk with a lot of supply houses. Supply houses would be like a big C lumber out there, and you talk to a lot of different people. So you really get a good vibe and you have your kind of thumb on what it's out there. Don't want to scare anybody, but I think when I started, I think it was like $6 and maybe 25 cents or something. I don't know, but don't tell anybody that anymore.
Life was different then.
Yeah, it was. But I could not tell you exactly what like the union trades are starting their guys off, because I can say that it's probably ballparks of somewhere between the 12 and 15 range would be my guess. Now, every trade that's out there, they start them off at different levels, and then you grow as your education moves on. You go through your apprenticeship programs and so on and so on. I also have talked to over my years, and what I do now in the residential world, I talk to people that may not be involved, with any of the unions, but they're working hard. They understand, hey, they're trying to make a living for themselves. And I can tell you right now that some of those positions as residential, if they're swinging a hammer for residential contractors right now, they may start off right around 12 to 14, an hour. And where they cap out, I don't really know, because as you get into, if you're not affiliated with some of those structured trades, because the union trades are kind of structured as a apprenticeship 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you have a journeyman level. The merit shop would be a employer who maybe not be affiliated with the unions. They do it on what they call merit. So if a guy goes out and say they start them at $12 an hour, they may give their carpenters more and more for the knowledge that they know, the production that they're doing, and so on and so on. So those levels are going to be all over the page. I can tell you that. But I think it's a fair statement in the area that we live in. Again, just talking to the classes here, the Michiana area, that I think if anybody in the trades right now, they're starting off roughly between 12 and 15. I think it's a fair number.
And how quickly then could a student expect to kind of grow their income, like as they accumulated skills? Like right. 6 months into your apprenticeship, do you get a bump? And what does that look like? And say then you're 2 years in.
Right.
Is there a really steady raise pattern that goes with that?
There is, and it's talking through is again where I cut my teeth from. Going through the apprenticeship programs with the unions. We were set up at that time was a yearly raise. So you would have to go to school, and we had a training program, and you had to have it was 160 hours a year that you had to make sure that you did in classroom training, and then you had to have so many hours in the field. After you meet those levels, then you would get your next raise, and it would be like an anniversary date. Say you got in on, I don't know, March, what are we, March 20th, or I would say April 20th. And so, and then your next April 20th is how it used to be. And so you'd make sure that you had all your classroom time, and then also how many hours you spent in the field. And if those all matched up, then you'd get your next raise. So say a carpenter right now is, say they started off at $12 to $15 an hour, that first raise, it may be a couple dollar raise. And then as it goes on, it'd be classified as a second year apprentice. And then if they go up again, after the third year apprentice, maybe they go up another $2, maybe another $3 or whatever that would be, until they get the highest negotiated wage that's out there with the carpenters, or as we're speaking to anybody, it doesn't necessarily if they want to get into the carpenters or not, or the electricians or the plumbers and pipe fitters and so on and so on. So, but they're very structured, very similar. And then as we touched base a little bit from the people I know from those different industries, maybe in different programs, they start off right there, and the more knowledge and the better that they are in the industry, that's what really drives their wages. That's the big thing. That's the big thing. So the more knowledge that those individuals have, they may be able to, get their raises a little bit quicker, but that doesn't mean always better. Quicker, if they're more knowledgeable and they're more productive, those individuals that are not affiliated with some of those structured apprenticeship programs or unions, they may get up to a higher number quicker. But in general, it doesn't really matter what side you're working for. The better of a carpenter or electrician or a plumber and pipe fitter that you are, the more money, of course, you can make. And that goes up to the individual.
Yeah, and not just the skills, but also again, back to the reliability and the showing up and being that person that people can count on, I think is really key. So this question was not on the list, but it popped into my head, so I'm just gonna ask it.
Yes.
Is there any class that you ever took during your class, like if it was a traditional class or just even a brief seminar or something that you feel was one that you remember and that the lessons you got there applied in places where you didn't think they would? I always laugh about like that one class that you took and then suddenly 10 years later you go, oh, I use that all the time. And like, that's a dot I never connected. And then you don't sometimes realize, even if it's a required thing, how it's going to impact you later and how you're going to use that continuously throughout your career. Is there anything like that? Is there like this one class that you would recommend to kids who are looking into construction trades?
Yes, and yes, and yes, yes, and yes. I probably was not the best student as I went through my high school years and stuff like that, but I ended up graduating, ended up moving on with that stuff like that. As I look back in high school, I really wasn't a good mathematician. And but going through when I went through the apprenticeship programs, we had like a apprenticeship math and stuff like that. I use it every single day, and it's really it's just, you look back at it and it's it's geometry and algebra and everything that you're doing with it. And no, it's not the coolest thing to say that hey, that I love math, but I use it every single day. And from anybody of just as simple as if anybody's getting into trades, and I think we had a couple, like I said, we had some building trades classes out there, and not sure if they're doing a 1-story or a 2-story building or a home over there, but calculating how to lay out stairs. I see people struggle with it all the time, and it really is just math. And it's, you get your rise and your run, you get your height from where you're at down to below, and then you're dividing numbers and everything else like that to make sure that you got your stairs actually look how they should look. And they all come out the same rise and the same run. And so it's little stuff like that that I look back like, man, what a great class that was.
That's great. So I'm also not really a math person, and I find math scary. And I was thinking about that too. Like, math is scary to me. And something I did that was scary last year, the Habitat Women build. Mm-hmm. Nobody else wanted to run the table saw, and I'd never done it. My husband does it. He's nearly lost a couple fingers at some point during this time. The guard might be shaky on the table saw at home, so I've never done it. But nobody would do it, and I was like, I'm doing this. And by the time I was done cutting all those boards all day, I was all like, look at me! I tried something new. I can do a table saw. Like, I can measure stuff. So math and table saws could be equally scary depending on who you are. And and I think that's great to have that information. I do think there's always that one class, so that every class is important, even if you don't connect the dots the minute you're taking it. So I appreciate it. I think we are coming up nearly on our time. So I want to encourage any students who have questions to drop them in the chat if there is anything. And I'm gonna, and in the meantime, while I'm looking at to see if anybody drops anything. I think they're tired. It's Tuesday morning. Like, what are they going to ask a question about?
I got 10 on my chat. I don't know if that is.
And sometimes they're group classes.
Okay.
So we have 21 participants, it looks like, but some are in groups. So that number does not reflect the number of people who might actually be out there in the.
Really trying to come back. Why not?
In the world somewhere.
Oh no.
So I guess I'm going to conclude with then, since I don't see a question getting jumped in there. I have so many questions that I want to ask, but I'm going to go with, what is the best thing about your job? And we'll just go with that. What is the best thing about your job now?
Right now, I still love using my hands. Still love using my hands. Very fortunate. As you know, I was joking around a little bit that I got all 10 of my digits. Very proud of that. But it's great to be able to start a project and to look back after that 8 hours of work and see what you have accomplished. Because so many jobs out there and careers, you really can't see that at all times. Anybody that's in any aspect of the trades, to be able to look back and they get there, like I said, at 7 in the morning, they may work till 3:30 or 5:30 or wherever it's at. You can look back and you can see your accomplishments right away. That is a very, very special thing. So I still get, that's probably number one, being able to do that. What I do now, I've always enjoyed, talking to different people, learning about different people, learning, see if I can help them out in any of their needs. So that's always a big thing, and listening to them and listening to their concerns and seeing if I can really help them to kind of move their dreams to the next level. So that's something I really enjoy as well. But anybody that's getting into the trades, that is a very special thing, is when you can be able to go to a job site, really work hard, and even if it's just sweeping a floor, but to be able to look back and say, you know what, I swept that floor a lot better than anybody else has, and to say, hey, I accomplished something special.
Oh, we did get a question.
Yes.
Is there a way to switch trades if you don't like the trade you start off with?
Do anything you want. Nobody should ever tell you if you want to go to school and be a veterinarian, and then all of a sudden you want to, come into the trades. Nobody's going to, I'm a true believer that, every individual has the right to do whatever they need to do. If you get into one of the apprenticeship programs, or even start off as a carpenter or electrician for any contractor out there, if it's something you don't like, don't wait 20 years. Do it. I mean, you'll get the feel of it, and you should be able to, really kind of take it in and say, hey, you know what, I wouldn't rush it, but I think I would give everything, if it's something you want to do, and if you put in a good 6 months of it, but then, it's not something you don't like. And here's the other thing. Don't quit if it's the person you're working with. Okay. So if it's something you enjoy and it just don't like the people that you're working with, you know what? Get rid of the distractions. These people that are putting you down or whatever it is, let that go away. Look for a different contractor, look for a different avenue. But if it's something you really like and something you really like to do, stay focused on it and making sure that that's where your goal is. But I think there's nothing wrong with anybody that starts a program and then jumps to another one. I know that some of the structures out there with some of the union trades, a lot of them have like probationary periods. They may be 6 months or something like that. That gives you the opportunity to kind of try a shoe on, see if it fits. But I'm sure every single program that's out there, regardless of who you're associated with or whoever you're working for, to try it on, see if it works out. If it's something you don't want to do, no harm, no foul to be able to jump to another thing. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. That's great. And I think it's important, no matter what your career
Yes.
pathway is, that you can always make that jump if you need to.
Yeah.
So we are at time. So I'm going to say thank you so much to Chris for being here today and sharing your knowledge with the students. Thanks for all the attending students and educators. And again, encourage everyone to visit the Building Trades Day landing page. These panels are being recorded, so you can actually have the opportunity to learn from these if you want to share them with mom and dad, if you want to, whatever adults are in your life, if you know others who would be interested in this, definitely let them know that they can check this out. And you can also listen to the other sessions that will be happening this week. So whatever construction trades pathway you may find interesting, there's going to be information on that on the Building Trades landing page. So again, thanks to Chris. Thanks for everybody who attended, and looking forward to the rest of the week, and really appreciate all of you. Have a great day.
I appreciate it. Thank you.